What's up, everybody? Adam here, BlackTop SmackTalk. Man, the crew is back. We are back in the building. Thank you guys for joining us today. So lovely to be back, man. It's pods are, the pandemic, man. It's tough. We're all crazy busy with our lives and our jobs and our families and whatnot. So it's always good to get us all on the same pod together. Except even we even enjoy having Bruce on as much as it pains us. It's always fun. But
you.
anyways, like I said, we got Bruce Jackson in the house.
In the Daniel Tice jersey. I like it.
Right.
No. The truth, baby. You know who it is.
He has the Paul Pierce on. We got Sano in the house wearing, oh man, UW.
Final Four.
Oh.
And then we got Charlie in the house, man.
We keep it always Seattle.
Yes, definitely always Seattle for sure, man.
Why don't you show off that hair more?
Oof.
Man, well, fellas, man, it's been a crazy first third of the NBA season thus far, man. There's a lot of teams that have really kind of stood out, but there's one in particular that has really caught the attention of the entire NBA, and that would be the Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz are currently the best team in the NBA. They are a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense. Here's another one for you gamblers out there. They've covered the spread. I think that's something I heard the other day.
Really?
I just butchered that stat. It's something about covering the spread or whatever.
Well, they win a lot of games by 10.
Right.
So.
Yeah, they blow out a lot of teams, right?
And they are last in the NBA in crunch time minutes. So to your guys' point, they they just blow dudes out and they don't have like a real crunch time, atmosphere in their games. But led by Donovan Mitchell, and Rudy Gobert. And then they've been the health of Mike Conley, which has been huge, and him just being healthy and just another year in the system. And then they have the leading candidate for the 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
Jordan Clarkson, who's instant offense off the bench, averaging 18 points a game. And and they're surrounded by real good players like Royce O'Neal, Joe Ingles, Bogdanovich, Derek Favors. They have a solid group, and I think that continuity from last year, they didn't really have a lot of turnover in their roster. Just Derek Favors. They added Derek Favors, and
they also didn't have Bogdanovich in the bubble, right?
In the bubble, yeah,
right.
He was injured.
They have Ingles. Was he in the bubble?
Yeah, he was there.
Oh,
yeah.
But
you also got to mention the Seattle zone, Mercer Island zone, led by the coach.
Yep, led by Quinn Snyder, who will be coaching in the All-Star game.
Yeah,
I think he's coaching Team LeBron. So,
and he's a Dookie, right?
Yeah, of course, he's a legend, bro. Washington guy, Duke guy, legend, instant legend. So, man, talking about the Jazz, man, let me get your guys' thoughts on Utah, man. They just lost a tough one. I think they've won 18 out of their last 20, I want to say, and they just lost a tough one to the Clippers, which was a real good game, real physical game, real defensive game. Utah hits hella threes, man. They get those shots up, and they're never out of a game. So their offense has been real fluid. They hit a lot of threes.
It's that extra pass. They're kind of like that Spurs team from a few years ago.
2014.
That beat the Heat.
Yep.
And just everyone gets the best shot possible every possession, right?
Right. So
Clarkson sometimes will jack it up because he can do that because he gets buckets, right? Yeah. But he been making more passes too. But his role is you come in and score, man. We're not here to just to distribute.
Who are you talking about?
Clarkson.
Oh, Clarkson, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember talking to you guys last year during the playoffs against Denver, and I think a lot of us were saying like Utah needs that to be a real contender. They need that that's another scorer because Mitchell was, that was that series where Mitchell and Murray were like out of this world. And this year they got Bogdanovich back, and he seems like he fits right in as to that piece that we're kind of talking about as that straight scorer guy, shooter, So he fit in perfectly for exactly what they needed.
Mm-hmm. He's earning that money too. When he signed, people were talking about maybe did they overpay him? You know what I'm saying? And he put up that 40 piece the other night, man. Clarkson's getting his.
Oh yeah, no.
When he was he second round draft pick? The Lakers, right?
Second round pick, like 46 or something like that.
I mean, he's really coming into his own, man.
Yeah, definitely, man. So what do you guys think about that, man? There's Gobert's their anchor, and he's the anchor of their defense. Donovan Mitchell and Conley lead the offense. So, man, what do you guys think? Bruce, what are you thinking about Utah?
Yeah, no, I think it's obviously been an impressive run. I think they can definitely make it far. I like what you mentioned, the continuity. I think kind of the components of a championship team is those teams that have, I think the NBA is good where the NFL, you have like parity where a team can come, out of the playoffs and the next year, win the Super Bowl and contend. The NBA, you tend to have teams that go through those growing pains and bumps on the road. And obviously Utah had that big bump in the road last year, being up 3-1 and then coughing that. But then you learn something about yourself. You've gone through those trials and tribulations with the team. And so I think that having that probably in the back of mind has led them a little bit to the run that they're on. They're obviously the 3-point is huge in today's NBA, and they're the best 3-point shooting team in the league. And one thing I during this run, and you kind of alluded to, was the crunch time minutes and the margin. I think they have the largest margin of victory for games of an NBA team currently right now. And so one thing I thought was actually encouraging, because they did have the collapse against Denver. They are blowing out teams, but obviously in the playoffs, you get to scheme for a team for potentially 7 games, and you're seeing those players in and out, and you tend to know their strengths and weaknesses. And so my concern a little bit about them was how will they manage those tight, close games? And I think the encouraging thing was watching that Clippers game, even though they lost, was the execution of their team in those final 2 minutes. It's just about, the decision making. So whether it was the coaching with Quinn Snyder drawing up plays and how they were going to execute to kind of chip away at that lead. And even though they lost, it was like inbounds 3, cool, timeout, foul someone, okay, hit a free throw, miss on purpose. Like just watching the execution of that last 10-minute offense when trying to close kind of a double-digit lead, I thought that was very encouraging to see that fight and execution from a team that's so used to blowing out other teams, because that will serve them well in the playoffs when they get into obviously more crunch time situations.
Wow, that was one of the best answers Bruce has ever given on the pod. No, I thought that was real. That was a real good take on that. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say when I think of Utah, like usually when we talk about teams, you think about like, oh, what are they missing, right? Like they need this or they need that. With Utah, to me they have everything that you could ask for, right? They have like their crunch time guy, like we were just talking about their crunch time. They have their kind of playmaker, Mitchell. They have their facilitators like Ingles and Conley. They have their defenders, Rudy Gobert, the big man, block shots. They have guys like Royce O'Neal who are kind of like more glue guys. And then they have their I guess another facilitator, Mike Conley, like the leader. So I mean, it's kind of hard to like nitpick and say like they're missing this, and they obviously Bogdanovich too as a scorer, but they have all the pieces there. I think the only thing that would hold them back is maybe like Bruce was saying was maybe like the experience.
Yeah,
because they haven't been there, right? Like those guys haven't been to the finals, they haven't been to the conference finals. So to me, they have everything. It's just that factor.
Who's their one thing who's their elite wing defender?
elite wing.
Probably
I mean, yeah,
Royce
you could
O'Neal.
nitpick and say that.
Royce
Yeah,
O'Neal.
yeah, but you know what's funny? Bogdanovich is like when you talk about playoffs, he's actually played LeBron pretty tough.
Bogdanovich.
He's because he's big. He's given LeBron problems for whatever reason, you know.
when he was on Indy. That
Yeah,
first-
amazing. That was like what
2000
3-4 years ago.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's long enough to play.
2018.
He's long enough to play solid defense, and then
He's-
Mitchell
yeah.
too. Like Mitchell could be out there, and then you mentioned Royce O'Neal, who's that
Yeah.
guy. Like they have pieces that can be
And
out
they have
there.
great team D, right? You
Right.
funnel it to Rudy.
Right, but I think you can say that about every team in the league, though. Like they could always use another wing defender. Like
Right.
just the way the NBA is right now. Like I think everybody could use one, but I mean, to me, it just seems like they have everything that you would want.
Yeah, I think something Charlie too alluded to, you know, when we were talking about Utah in our group chat is, besides having that continuity, man, everyone, and this was brought up on a pod, I think it was maybe Zach Lowe or Simmons or Kevin O'Connor. One of them were talking about Utah. They know their guys know their roles. You know what I'm saying? Mitchell's like go-to scorer. Conley's like the facilitator. Ingles is like, the pass first vet off the bench who kind of brings the team together. O'Neal's like the wing defender who can guard multiple positions. Gobert's the anchor. Clarkson is the best player. No, he's
Instant offense.
he's instant offense. He's in that Jamal Crawford, Jet Terry, Lou Will role. Instant offense off the bench. Bogdanovich is their spot up shooter. So it's like those roles were defined, and it's that continuity. We saw with teams last year. Teams like the Clippers and even Milwaukee to a degree, the continuity wasn't there in full. And guys' roles weren't super defined. And I think that's something that Quinn Snyder and his staff have done a great job of defining the roles of the players. And, guys know what is needed. Even guys like Niang off the bench, he's like a ninth man, solid, gives you good defense, can hit the open three, doesn't need the ball to be effective, set screens. That's all a part of Quinn Snyder's system.
Everybody buying in.
Yeah,
Buying in, everyone as a whole.
And they're just playing real beautiful basketball right now. It's kind of cool. Like Charlie said, they're similar to the 2014 Spurs, the one, the team that, blew out Miami in the finals. They play similar to that style of play. The ball doesn't really stick unless, if they do have a crunch time, it'll probably go Donovan Mitchell, and to be honest, Donovan Mitchell, he's gotten better over the course of the year. I thought he's been kind of underwhelming to start. He had some poor games in the start of the season, and his defense was kind of shoddy. What the reason? Who knows? From the bubble or whatever, short off season. But as of late, especially during their crazy winning streak, what was that? 11 games, Charlie?
Yeah, they had an 11 and a 9, right?
Yeah.
Or an 8.
So in both those
They were
winning
19
streaks,
out of 20,
he's been great. He's been great. He's really stepped into that role as like, I'm the man. I'm one of the best players. I'm one of the top 15 to 20 guys in the league. And he's really solidified himself. So, yeah.
And I mean, as we
I was just gonna say, like, I know we're gonna talk about this like as we go on the pod, but do you think they can win the championship? Can they win the title? Yes or no? Like a quick yes or no.
I mean, my money would say no, but I think they're capable of beating Lakers and Clippers.
But if you had to pick like Lakers or Jazz and Clippers, you'd probably pick the Clippers.
Me personally, I would say no. And but that's not a knock on them. I think playoff time, and I know it's kind of crazy talking, I'm high on the Clippers come playoff time, but something like what's happening with Utah is the Clippers came into the season and guys know their roles, and that's why I believe in them. And it's hard for me to go against Kawhi. That dude's a fucking winner. And, obviously you guys know I love PG, and I think he's, really had a great bounce back season after being hurt and all the shit in the bubble. I believe in the Clippers, but then the Lakers can't really bet. It's impossible to get bet against LeBron. As much as you want to, Sano, every day, it's hard to bet against LeBron.
With the Clippers, you said it's hard to bet against Kawhi. It's easy to bet against Paul George. No, I'm fucking with you. No, but as I say, it's easy. It's easy to bet against like a Lou Will, who notoriously hasn't played well in the playoffs, right? And kind of like what one of the reasons why the Clippers lost last year is the chemistry, the camaraderie. They didn't really have that. Where Utah has all that. So that'd be one of the ways where I could see Utah maybe sneaking up and getting the Clippers in a series but the Clippers are playing more together this year than they were in the playoffs last year.
Right.
And as we remember, I bet you Adam wishes that shot went in. They were 1 inch away from beating the Nuggets, right? And what if Utah played the Clippers? Then we might have finally actually saw Clippers and Lakers and not Nuggets and Lakers, right?
See, I was just gonna say, like, if Utah had won that series against Denver last year, I mean, obviously winning is better for like the team, right? And just in general, but just that experience of playing against the Clippers or the Lakers, somebody in the next round deeper in the playoffs would have benefited them huge for this year. Even if they had lost that series last year, it would have given that experience where it's like, okay, now we want more. Whereas like they lost in the first round, so it's they don't get that kind of deep playoff experience.
Bruce, as a playoff performer, as times progress, as the playoffs progress, are you a believer in Donovan Mitchell as a playoff performer? Now, I'm not talking first round. First round is for the birds. Like, all right, he's proven that, right? He's won series. And do you believe in Gobert to stay on the court in a playoff? Because as we saw the other day when they played the Clippers, Ty Lue went small. He plays small ball, and Gobert is out there guarding Pat Bev. You know what I'm saying? Which teams, and I think the Lakers will probably do that too. Well, they'll go small. I mean, AD's with the 5, which isn't really small, but AD is a monster. He'll stretch, he'll bring Gobert out, leave all the room for LeBron to work, Schroeder, So Bruce, talk to me. Do you believe in those guys in not just the first round performance, but like big time performances?
Yeah, I mean, I have obviously you can only base player evaluation based on what they've done in the past. So there's nothing for me not to, obviously based on what Donovan Mitchell did this last playoffs, even though it was only in the first round, there's nothing there to establish for me not to believe that he couldn't continue and do that to the next round. Obviously we've had, there's a lot of players that we critique not being able to get it done in the playoffs because they've shown in the past. Donovan hasn't yet to do that, even though I do agree with you at the beginning, Adam, of this season, he was underwhelming as the start of the season, and then obviously figured something out. And as we alluded to a previous pod, most of us believe he's an all-star this year and whatnot. So yeah, no, I think he can continue that level of play. I do actually worry, though, you got a good point. I do worry about the use of ability of Gobert to stay on the floor against other Western Conference teams, especially other teams, the ability to go small and drag out like you saw Doc do. So that is actually a genuine concern of mine. Or sorry, yes, Ty Lue, not Doc anymore, but Ty Lue did. So yes, that is a genuine concern of mine. I do worry about those bigs that are a little more versatile, can move a little bit. But again, that becomes an issue of more matchups, right? I mean, and we all know the playoffs is just about, matchups. But that would be a concern of mine. I think I would be more concerned about that than Mitchell not showing up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good point, Bruce, because you think about it like, if you're going to go small and you're going to try and take Rudy off the court, you can't. And it's like Rudy's not like a one-on-one offensive monster, so he's not going to make you pay. Like a Joel Embiid. Like, yeah, you can try and go small against Joel Embiid, but he'll literally score every time down court on the other side, where you're not going to get that out of Gobert per se, right? So then maybe Snyder has to make a decision like, fuck, do I sit down Gobert for a couple possessions that they're just working us on pick and rolls and stuff?
And yeah, no, that's a good point because you know what this actually reminds me of? This is a conversation we had during the bubble when the Lakers played the Nuggets. And the worry was, oh my goodness, how in the hell is Jokic going to stop AD? AD is going to have a field day, right? But AD did play well. But like Charlie alluded, Jokic was balling himself and he made him pay back on the other end, you know? So it kind of negated each other. You know, even though obviously AD has much more of a defense impact in other areas than Jokic does, but Jokic was still doing his thing. And I don't know if that would be the case with Rudy Gobert on both ends of the floor like that. So
what's Rudy as a free throw shooter in the 70s?
I don't even know if he's that high.
Oh, really? I thought he was like decent, but again,
I thought he was okay. I thought he was decent.
Maybe.
But anyways, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's if they play, you know, if it was Jazz and Clippers in a series, I mean, that's tough. You know, I mean, especially with Jazz. Well, probably, well,
58%.
Oh, that's pretty bad. I was gonna say, if there's fans, you know, those Utah fans are always been known to be good, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be enough fans to make a difference like that?
No, that's what I was wondering. Is there going to be fans by playoffs, which would be, you know, May, right? March, April, May, whatever. I don't know,
might be
but
more
I doubt it
now. But I don't know if it's going to be like
enough
where it's going to be like home court advantage is going to make a difference again.
So here's a random. I guess here's a random question. Let's say, is there anyone that you would take in a series from the East over Utah?
Oh yeah.
Oh really? I think Utah would beat almost everybody.
I mean, I think Utah matches up. Philly would be the team that I probably like right now. If we're taking a team out of the East, I would assume it's going to be Philly, right? And I think Utah matches up really well with Philly. So I think they could hang with them. I think Brooklyn, if Brooklyn came out of the East, would be another story. That might be a problem for them, just matchup wise.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam. I see you shaking the head. Go ahead. Say what you want to say.
A team in the East that I would take over Utah. Probably the teams we mentioned.
Oh, all of them, huh? I think Utah could be better. I think they'd be the 1 seed in the East right now.
Philly and Brooklyn are the two teams that stand out.
Yeah.
Brooklyn is just for the offensive firepower.
That's it. That's all I would take. I would take them over Philly in a series.
So I don't know about Philly because Ben Simmons is a big X factor in that one too.
Yeah.
You know, he just had a 40-piece against them last week, and you know, without Embiid, and they ended up losing. I think it was by 10, but it was closer than 10.
I think that's a good matchup for both of those teams.
That'd be a good matchup. The thing about Utah is, and in the playoffs is, you know, they're gonna the game slows down in the half court, as we all know, and Gobert has to be able to score. He has to get at least 15, 15 to 18. He has to be able to, take advantage of his size, and some of the teams are playing smaller centers, so he has to be able to dominate that, to dominate those matchups. And obviously not so much against like the Lakers or the Clippers. They got some pretty solid bigs, but against some of the teams like Dallas, he could, even if Dallas makes the playoffs.
I was just gonna say.
But even someone like who else?
Well, what about Portland? Portland, Utah.
Oh, I mean, Utah would win, but like Nurkic can't. He's slow. I mean, he's a physical center, but he's slow. So Gobert's kind of he can move a little bit, but he's so damn long that he has to be able to score. And I think they're gonna need his offense in come playoff time. Because obviously, like I said, the game slows down. We know what Mitchell's gonna give. We know what you're getting from Bogdanovich, and we know Clarkson's gonna light it up for at least 15. So it's like in the paint, it has to be Gobert.
Adam? How did Clarkson play in the bubble? Solid, average. I mean, because like Lou Will, that Clippers depend on Lou Will to get for points. So they're going to depend on and this might be one of his first times maybe making a potential deep run.
I mean, he was on LeBron's finals team.
Oh, but Clarkson, he didn't play much.
Yeah, he didn't play. He didn't have the role that he has now. In the bubble, he had games where he was, double figure scoring, but what hindered him was, defensively. And I think he's improved a lot this year defensively, but that's the thing. Like even the other day against the Clippers, he wasn't on the court. He had 19, but he was off the court for the last, I think, 5 minutes of the game. And he was one of the reasons why they came back, because they were down 14 at one point, and his just no conscience, lights out shooting, he brought him back. But defensively, Quinn Snyder wanted, he wanted his horses, so to speak. And Ingles was in there, Mitchell, Bogdanovich, O'Neal, and then Connolly. Connolly just came back from injury, but so yeah, similar to Lou Will, I think he's gonna have his moments, but he has to. The other end of the court is what will keep him on the court.
So to sum it up, does anyone think they make the Western Conference Finals?
I think it depends on what bracket. I mean, how the brackets shape up. Because if they run into the Clippers or the Lakers,
they're going to probably run into one of them before the Western Conference Finals. So
well, I mean,
I don't know. I mean, maybe those two end up in the same bracket. Maybe they're 2 and 4 or 1 and 3 or whatever, however it shakes out. But I think they have a chance. I think those would be the two teams that would stand in their way. I think they could beat anybody else in the West.
Yeah, I think because AD is out and he's gonna miss. I think he'll miss. They said 4 weeks, so he'll miss a month. I think that unless something happens, it's gonna be Clippers and Lakers at 2-3. Unless Utah just like shits the bed and Lakers or Clippers get the 1 seed, then I could see them making the Western Conference Finals.
Adam, I was listening to something and they were talking about someone on TV or whatever was saying how the Jazz do this every year, where the last 2 years they've had big runs of like 15-2, 19-3, right? So like they're just happening to do it in the beginning of the year, right? So, that's why I was like, do we believe in them all the way? This is something that they've tended to do. And maybe with the back-to-back of the scheduling, it's favored them. And that's why they're starting off with this early, because they're only 2.5 games up. So they don't really have to fall apart to lose the 1 seed.
And there's a lot of season left.
But if anything now, I mean, you probably think the Clippers could take the 1 seed. I can't imagine the Lakers. I mean, just, they're obviously going to fall off a little bit without Davis. Right? I don't know if they're going to be catching someone they're 3 games behind. So, yeah, I mean, who knows?
So it sounds like we think they are contenders.
I think so. Yeah.
Debatable contenders.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So we got 3 contenders we got just 3 contenders in the West, right? Mm-hmm. Portland's not a real contender.
I consider them contender.
Well, good. I like it. And they might be with CJ back.
I was going to say, I agree. I think they're contenders. They're missing their second and third best players.
Man, I don't. Just for a simple fact is similar to Brooklyn, but Brooklyn has more firepower. Is they're I think they're ranked 29th in defensive efficiency.
Wow.
27th. Portland is, so they're great offensively. Dame is filthy, like MVP candidate, which we'll get to later. But their defense is so bad, and I think that will hinder them come playoff time. And especially with the type of injuries these guys are coming back from, CJ has a broken foot, and Nurkic had
he's broken wrist.
Okay,
right?
Okay, but CJ has a broken foot, and that's not something to really mess with. You want to, and you need time, to get your timing back and to get your rhythm and whatnot. So I think it'll be tough for them defensively. Me personally, I only think there's only 3 contenders in the West. Like, I'm not big on Denver. Like I told you guys that from the start of the season, I wasn't big on Denver. Dallas has been underwhelming, and I wasn't really feeling Dallas. KP Luka's been great, but the rest of the team has struggled. And Luka's going through some growing pains as a leader, and they're just struggling. They're not playing at the high efficiency offense that they had an all-time offense last year, and they're struggling this year.
Yeah, I think Utah Portland would be a fun series.
Yeah,
you know, because if it goes 7, which it very well could, even if Utah is looking better, it'd be tough for me to go against Dame in a one game remaining playoff, right?
You can say the same thing about Mitchell.
I trust Dame a lot more than Mitchell.
Oh yeah, all day,
for a lot of,
every day.
I mean, Dame's the most clutch player in the NBA. He's hit so many clutch shots. He's won series on a shot, which no one else has since like Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not arguing with you. I'll probably take Dame too, but I'm just saying after what we saw from Mitchell in the playoffs last year,
he killed for sure.
And granted, there was no fans and it was the bubble, but I mean, that's what we have to go off of. I was going to say a team that I think is, if they're not a contender, they're one move away from being a contender in the West is Phoenix. I mean, they're probably not at that level with, obviously at that level with the Lakers and the Clippers, and maybe not even Utah, but that next tier down where they could, cause some problems for somebody in a series. I think they just need to make a couple moves. I mean, that addition to Chris Paul.
I mean, with them, is it a move that they need to make, or they just need the young guys to keep developing and getting better, like a Cam Johnson and guys like that, right?
Well, both.
Yeah. Because you hate to give up one of those guys, but.
Right. And we talked about like how every team can use wing defenders.
Right.
They got wing defenders.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, don't even get in
and honestly, Ayton could be playing better. He's not having as good a season. I think he's like 4 points less or something than last year, which Chris Paul's there, but still.
And Booker got out to that slow start. He's playing well now, obviously.
Right.
But if they put it together a little bit and then maybe make a move here and there, I think they could cause some problems for somebody in a series.
Yeah. Would you guys say Portland or Phoenix are more of a threat to be a contender?
Portland.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I'd probably say Portland too.
Okay.
Yep. Portland.
I mean, because they're even right now in the rankings without their second best player, arguably, right? Mm-hmm. Portland is
second and third best. You want to?
Oh, you mean you're talking about Melo's the second best, yeah, and CJ's the third best?
Oh no, the real Melo plays in Charlotte. I think you're mistaken.
Well, I think, how old are you? I thought you were over 30, not under 30. That's the debate. Anyone over 30, we know who Melo is.
All right, so talking, contenders. What about the East? The East is interesting. We brought up Brooklyn with their loaded weapons with Kyrie, Harden, Durant, and they got Joe Harris and all the shooting, and they've been playing a lot better defensively. I was down on them a lot defensively, but they've been playing better. Had a nice win against the Lakers. They're beating the Clippers right now, so they're playing good basketball on both ends, which is weird to say for that team. But then we talked about the 76ers. They're the number 1 seed. Embiid is looking MVP-like. He just had 50 the other day. Simmons is looking like an all-star. But do we feel any other team besides them? Because, there's teams like Milwaukee, Charlie's Raptors.
I think you can stop right there in Milwaukee. There's no one else worthy to even say.
But hold on. But, there's the defending Eastern Conference champion, the Miami Heat. And I think, and there's Bruce's Boston Celtics. So is it just those two teams in the East, or are we thinking, Milwaukee maybe?
Milwaukee, I would put in there. Those other teams you named, I think, need to make a move to be considered.
Boston doesn't make a move. They're just pissing away the good years of Tatum and Brown.
And Smart.
And Tice.
We can let him go. No, Adam. I guess in the East, for me, I agree. I think Philly and Brooklyn are the contenders. I have a maybe feel for Milwaukee. I'm also interested, it'd be interesting to see the last 2 seasons when Milwaukee had what time of the year they lost their 13th game, because they've already lost 13 games.
Right. They're still the 13th, which is crazy.
And they're still but for me right now, it's the 76ers and the Nets, and I'm still a little iffy on Milwaukee because the ability. Each of those teams have some flaws. I feel a little more confident in the 76ers because of the build. They can play defense, like at multiple positions, play defense very well and effectively. And they have a championship, winning coach with Doc, who's been there before. The Nets, obviously, I was with you on board with the defensive lapses, but they've improved on that end. They've improved as a team defense. I don't know if but somehow they've started be getting there, doing a better job on that end, and they do have the best point guard in the league in James Harden. And then
Bruce, real quick, you know what they've been doing? They're doing that Houston Rockets defensive scheme that switch everything. It's literally they switch everything.
Yep, they do.
Harden's guarding centers a lot. You know what I mean? So they switch everything, and that's actually played into their favor.
Yeah, it has.
They're getting teams to play to speed up the game and play Brooklyn Nets ball as opposed to teams, and the Clippers fell victim to this a couple of weeks ago when they played they were trying to speed the game up, and the Clippers are more like, let's play within the half court, but they're trying to jack up more threes than they usually take, go a little more ISO than they usually do, and that's great strategy. They switched the strategy up. Steve Nash and his staff, they switched it up. So I
was going to say, either way, it seems like someone that Sano hates is going to make the finals, whether it's D'Antoni or Daryl Morey and his brilliant basketball knowledge.
D'Antoni, he's fine if the camera's not on him. I don't mind it as an assistant.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely looks like he has a good say in how that team looks and how they play.
I mean, that offense and that defense have D'Antoni written all over it.
And Steve Nash, which obviously go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Bruce, what were you? I interrupted you, but what did you finish your point?
I was just finished. I mean, Milwaukee, I'm still like up and down like this. I think obviously like when everyone's healthy, that front, I like their starting five, and they have the obviously ability to shoot the ball very well, especially from three. But then I get in this mode of like, man, is Giannis just going to be that guy that can't get it done in a play? Like, there's something about, he gets, I don't know, there's something about him about getting frustrated at the end of the games. I think as just a human being, like when you face adversity, you divert to things that make you comfortable and behavior. I think that's just a natural human instinct. And for him on the basketball court, when it's like crunch or clutch, I think he gets to the mode of like, I have to be all out attack. And then he draws fouls, dumb fouls. He fouls out of games. People don't mind fouling him because he has to go to the free throw line and shoot, where he's not a very good free throw shooter.
Sub 60%.
And they just implement the defense like, everyone's been implemented for. Just clog the lane, put someone in front of them and make him beat you with, I guess, skill. Like, is he going to shoot a turnaround jumper on you? No. Is he going to like cross you up, pull up, and cash in your face like a Kawhi? No. Does he have a spot on the court? His spot on the court is like underneath the basket. Like, so that's why I'm a little more iffy on Milwaukee, because when it gets to that time when the game slows down and stuff, like, okay, Giannis, here's the rock. Where is your spot? Like, I can name that for every other team, and that's up in the upper echelon in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know. That's why I feel more better about the Nets and 76ers.
I mean, another team, like I pretty much agree with you on that, Bruce. Like, I want to believe in Giannis so much because he's so good. He's so long.
You want him to be better than LeBron.
I mean, that's not saying much, but but at the same time, like, we've seen this before from him. Like, we've seen him struggle the last couple of years when it gets down to the playoffs, and teams can like kind of pack it in, and you kind of get that familiarity in a series with the team. They get adjusted to how to play somebody.
Right.
So he's got to be able to figure out how to take that next step, and get his team over the hump. But another team, I keep waiting for them to put it together because I feel like they have the pieces, is Indiana. And I know they're missing TJ Warren, who's like a big scorer for them.
And LeVert.
I feel like those pieces are there, and LeVert. those pieces are there, but they just need to bring it together. And I think they could make a run in the East too. I don't think they're up there obviously with Philly and Brooklyn, but they're another team like kind of like Phoenix in the West. Like they could cause some problems if they get it together.
Really quick before we transition, Charlie, I alluded to this team earlier, and we've had multiple discussions about them. And Miami just got a big win against the Lakers. They've been playing better, but then they beat the Lakers, but then they lost to a Clipper team without 4 starters. So
Right.
it's kind of weird. They haven't been as consistent. They've been playing better because Jimmy Butler's back. You know, they lost a bunch of guys to COVID, and Jimmy Butler's back, and he's obviously he's what makes the team go. So Charlie, do you think that they can make a run to being in that tier? Do you think they have it, or do you think, or better yet, do you think like the bubble was kind of like a fluke and they're not really on that tier?
Well, I think for one, I don't know if they'll be able to make enough run to get out of like maybe a 6, 7, or an 8. So then their first round matchup is going to be really hard, right? It's going to be Brooklyn or Philly, like maybe right out the gates. And then you could see them out in the first round, Whereas if they had a good, I think last year they were a 4 or 5 seed or something like that, maybe 5, yeah.
5.
So, I mean, yeah, maybe they could creep up to 5 if they really go on a run. I mean, they're how many games back from 5? I guess they're only 2.5 back from the 5 seed. So I guess that's doable to sneak up there. The 4, the 5, they're only 2.5 games behind Indiana, Toronto, which is actually kind of surprising considering how bad they've played. As we've seen, Jimmy's had some good individual performances now because earlier in the year, he was useless. He was having games of 4 and 8 points.
Yeah.
Like this guy was putting 30-point triple doubles on LeBron in the finals, And then to come out and see him can't even score 10 against a weak team. I think Jimmy was just kind of like, fuck it. Like whatever, like wake me up when it's playoff time, but they got to make it, right? I don't think they can really go on a run to win a couple series. I think Miami, Indiana would be a fun series, right? I could see that going either way. But if they had to play one of the top 2 teams, I think the Bucks, the Bucks too would be interesting if they played them again because they would want revenge. That thing about Giannis, like, yeah, Bruce brought up a good point. Like, is Giannis going to be that guy that's like, man, all the talent in the world, but can't put it together in the playoffs? Then again, he is only 26. He's just been a franchise player for so long. I mean, like when you look at historical greats, like, Jordan or whatever, how old was he when he got his first title? 29. And like LeBron was like 29, 28. So Giannis has a couple more years of fucking up before he really has to really put it together, and I don't think the Bucks are going to make it this year. So then, it'd be another year of him struggling to be the man, right? And he's got a good number 2 and he's got a good team, but I don't think the Heat, back to the Heat, I don't think the Heat can really do it.
Should have made a move for Harden.
I mean, maybe they tried.
Maybe
right?
they get
I don't know.
That's true. Maybe
that's what's crazy. As fans, you never know about the trades that didn't happen, right? Like, first thing that comes to mind, we listen to a lot of Sonic shit, how the Sonics could have had Clyde Drexler.
Yeah.
Like, we could have had Clyde Drexler, Gary Payton, and Sean Kemp. I mean, maybe that beats fucking Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, but who knows? You never really know about the trades that don't happen. Like, was Philly really going hard, ready to give up Ben Simmons, Supposedly, the reports were, yes, they were willing to give up Simmons for Harden. But obviously they didn't. But, yeah.
Well, Miami's an interesting one. I think the short off season hurt them initially, and then I think COVID mixed in with the COVID that I think now they're starting to play better basketball.
Dragic hasn't played much, right?
Yeah, he's been. All their guys have been in and out of the lineup. So.
But who's been consistent?
Bam.
Actually, is Nunn. Nunn's been pretty solid for them.
Yeah, Nunn and Bam have been.
And
they didn't even play Nunn last year, maybe because of COVID.
Right.
Yeah.
So, last thing, we're about a third into this, a little bit more than a third into the season. There's been a lot of discussion about MVP. Obviously, it's still early. A lot of things can change. There's been some MVP discussions talked about. So just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, a player that or two that kind of stand out for you guys in the MVP race. I know in our MVP predictions, Charlie had Durant, I had Jason Tatum, Sando had Jokic, and Bruce had Dame,
Yes.
and Bruce had Dame. So
I thought Sano had Clint Capella.
and then producer Pat also had Dame also. So yeah, let's get your guys' thoughts. So Santa, how do you feel about your prediction so far? And then do you feel as though he has
I want to hear it.
Chance?
I want to hear it.
Well, I mean, the thing holding back Jokic's MVP chances is the Nuggets record.
Right.
Otherwise, he's playing like an MVP. He's averaging damn near a triple double, I think. Still,
crazy as a big
right
man.
Below, right
Crazy.
As a big man. He's been carrying that team, and I think Murray's turning it on now, kind of getting it together. Yep. So we'll see how Denver finishes. I still think he's in the race. There's a lot of season left, but I think right now, if I had to pick, well, I'll say my MVP right now is Joel Embiid. I don't think Philly's anywhere near what they are without Embiid, and they're the top seed in the East. And then second, I'd put Lillard, just because of what Portland's gone through. Go ahead. Were you gonna say something, Adam?
Real quick about Embiid, and Charlie brought this up the other day because he heard it on a pod that we listened to. Was, do you feel as though Embiid will get hurt because of the games he missed? He's missed and will continue to miss.
No, as long as Philly is near the top of the Eastern Conference or at the top of the Eastern Conference, and Embiid plays, I don't know,
72 games. Say he plays 60. Say he plays 60.
Yeah, I think still. I think he still gets it. I think.
What if he plays 55?
Like 55. 50,
that's too many.
That area is a little. Then you kind of got to talk about those.
That's kind of so. Then that will kind of like tie into Charlie's.
Like a theory of who's eligible.
Because Kevin Durant has put up MVP type numbers, but he's obviously. I think it's more because of COVID. So I think COVID, that's a little wrinkle in it, is how COVID will play with some of these guys. But I don't think he's like the biggest star that has had COVID. You know what I'm saying? So
he didn't even actually have it, right?
He
didn't.
He had it last year, but now it's just contact tracing.
Contact tracing. Yeah.
So yeah, the missed games thing is something that even Charlie alluded to. So you would have Embiid, and you think Jokic has a good chance. Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Lillard would probably be my second up there.
Lillard, okay. Bruce,
and he's really keeping him out of there, man. I see you, Sano.
Bruce, what about you? You had Dame, so you feel pretty good about that. But is there anybody else who kind of sticks out?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, my preseason pick was Dame. I was a year early. My last year's pick was Embiid, and that was my pick this year. I mean, if I had to pick right now, it's Embiid. I mean, the dude is eating. I mean, some of these stats. I mean, just kind of real quick. I've been looking at that. I mean, 30, 11 boards, 3 assists. Over 1 block, 1 steal game. I mean, the thing that really sticks out to me though is he's shooting about 55% from the field, 40 from 3, and 85 from the free throw line. You kidding me?
That's crazy.
40 from 3, 85 from the free throw line. He's averaging the second lowest amount of turnovers he's ever had in his career at 3.4. But I also think what's great is his 3-point. This is the highest 3-point percentage he's ever had, but he's also making the most threes he's had per game, which is 1.2. But he's actually shooting the least amount of threes he's ever had in his career.
Right.
So his efficiency got up. So part of it is Embiid. He's got himself in shape. Kudos to him. His game stepped up. But I also think that Doc's done a wonderful job of, like, remember how everyone's always been on Embiid about, he wants to shoot the 3 and he needs to go in the post more and some of that. Somehow Doc has merged in, let Embiid be himself and merged into the system where it's like, hey, he's still knocking down the 3, but at a higher efficiency level, doing less while doing monster work inside the post.
Right.
I mean, so like, yeah, I mean, but like, I agree with Sano. Yeah, 1 and 2 right now for me would be Embiid and Dame, but I would pick Embiid. He's, and because of Philly's record, as well. And like I said, I put a little more emphasis on MVP postseason awards with the team record factored in a little more.
Okay.
So,
well, let me go because I know Charlie has he's been chomping at the bit to get to his.
Well, you kind of get to be a legitimate basketball pod. There's one name you have to say,
go ahead,
or else
Adam,
you'll be just dismissed as ignorant.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
go ahead,
obviously, like you guys brought up, I'm very impressed with Embiid. I was not high on, some of the stuff I've seen previous years with the conditioning and seemed lazy, but he's been playing well. My pick was Tatum, but that's down the window because Boston fucking sucks.
whoa.
He also missed like 3 weeks.
No,
I couldn't hear. What did Adam say again? I couldn't hear. I would like to hear it again.
No, I had Tatum. Tatum's missed some time, and Boston's underachieved a lot as a team. LeBron is. I just can't. It's hard. The stats don't like. MVP is about stats, but then impact, and he has such a crazy impact on the game. I'm not even. I don't want to sit here and talk about LeBron because I know that's what Charlie's waiting for. But LeBron is up.
I actually don't even talk about LeBron that much on this pod. There's just no point.
So LeBron's up there, but somebody who doesn't get talked about, and I don't know if it's because he was like maybe injury management, or it's just he's not a sexy like MVP type player, is Kawhi. Kawhi is my top 3 would be. In no order would be LeBron, Kawhi, and Embiid. I think
no Lillard.
Lillard's not up there for me. I think Kawhi is up there for me. Dame would be top 6, I guess you could say. And that's not a knock on him. I'm just obviously I watch so much Clippers, and Kawhi's 50-40, almost 50-40-90.
Or 90.
27, 6, and 5 for the number 2 as of right now, the number 2 team. And he's been playing back-to-backs. He's been playing better defense.
How many games has Kawhi missed? Like 5 or 6?
He's missed 5, and 2 of them were like, it's that tracing shit.
Like,
yeah. Him and PG missed 2. And then he got his face, like he had stitches in his mouth. He got it from his jar or some shit. So
sounds soft.
But the way he's been playing this year, man, if they're a top team, I say 1 or 2, and he's still putting up these stats, I think he has a great chance. He won't win it because I think there's so many narratives surrounding the MVP.
Yeah.
And kudos to LeBron. LeBron let everybody know, it's like, yo, you guys gotta, I do this. Like, put respect. Dame says, respect my fucking name. Well, cats really got to respect LeBron, and I don't think a lot of people are. So he put that in voters' heads already at the end of the finals, when he was celebrating. So I think he wants to win it this year. So I think LeBron has a strong case, and then Embiid and Kawhi. So those are my 3.
We're gonna find out a lot about LeBron's MVP case this next month.
It's gonna be a make or break over the next 6 weeks, really.
Right. So far, they're 5-3 without AD.
But I think
lost to Detroit.
But I will say before you go, Charlie, I don't mean to cut you off. Is they cannot. He's played like he just looks gassed against like teams. They played 3 overtime games, OKC twice and fucking Detroit
in a row,
and he was playing 40 plus at 36. Like, I hope Vogel kind of cuts that shit down. And LeBron's a freak athlete. So, he's going to be ready, but you just don't want, that fatigue to catch up to him,
Hey, wasn't there that game the other day where like right before tip off, LeBron was like feeling kind of sick and they carried him off the court? And didn't that happen like just the other day where he was like, I'm feeling a little under the weather?
No, that was the other MVP. That was our other MVP candidate. That was Curry.
Oh, okay. How many games does LeBron miss?
The The guy who's carrying his team right now.
How many games has LeBron missed? Because LeBron just wants to make movies and shit. That's what I heard. That's why he went to LA, right?
I mean, it's fun when you have AD carrying you.
I mean, if you feel like that's really the case, but yeah,
They're
you know,
5-3 without him,
they were 5-2 before last game when it was a pretty ugly game.
and they were 5-1 before that, but now they're 5-3.
No, they were not 5 and no, wasn't like that was not the record. They haven't lost 3 in a row without Davis. You've been monitoring every game that even is close when Davis doesn't play. But I mean, you know, what I'm gonna say is
Adam just went over it. They have a loss to Detroit. They went into overtime with Detroit. They went into overtime with OKC. They lost to Miami, and I think they went into overtime. With
so
OKC
then technically Davis should be one of your candidates.
Davis's stats aren't great either.
Oh, okay. So then that you're helping me out for LeBron now.
They're both mediocre seasons, and Davis is having the better mediocre.
So maybe Montrezl Harrell's MVP.
Dennis Schroeder. I would say Dennis Schroeder ahead of him.
Schroeder.
Chuck, before you go, what's interesting, and I heard this in I think Bill Simmons said it in his pod when he's talking to Kevin O'Connor, was LeBron statistically this isn't one of his better seasons in the last I think 5 or 6 years.
Well, probably ever in like 12 years.
Right. Statistically, he's down. I think he said 5 years, the last 5 years. So statistically, he's down, but I think overall impact is what is pushing him, catapulting him to the MVP. So it's like, you know, we talk about all the time, like he could have won MVP for like 10 years straight. You know what I mean? Numbers alone. And they're top 2 or 3 every year. But he didn't. So it's like now I think the numbers are down, but the impact is higher. You know what I'm saying? So
I wonder if, in a weird way, Giannis winning MVP and losing again early in the playoffs kind of helps LeBron for this year.
Oh, I guarantee it.
You know, like by him lose, like what if Giannis made the finals, right? And would it have been like, man, maybe we should have gave it to LeBron or whatever. But Giannis losing in the second round was like, man, maybe kind of like those times, like when Dirk won MVP and the lost in the first round, was like maybe we gave it to the wrong guy. We can't give it to him again, and we can't keep giving MVP to Giannis, right? If he's going to keep on losing in the playoffs, even though the playoffs have nothing to do with it.
That's what I was going to say. They always say that MVP is a regular season award.
Yeah, right. But it would be cool if they do start to come out with a playoff MVP, you know?
I wouldn't be mad if they made it at the end of the full season, gave out the MVP.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Regular season and playoffs.
Right. But yeah, I mean, so actually, I think LeBron will win it, but if I had to vote today, I'd vote for Embiid, you know? But like, you know, like Embiid and Jokic, I mean, their numbers, just the raw numbers is way better than LeBron, right? Like Jokic especially, you know, with assists and everything. I think Jokic might be averaging, I think he's averaging more assists than LeBron right now, I think. If not, it's close.
Jokic is at 9.
Yeah. And it's crazy how, because that's why like the argument for LeBron last year was that he led the league in assists, you know, for the first time in his career, which was like a good thing to, you know, but Giannis had just an unbelievable season. But I think right now with the Sixers number 1, and as Bruce kind of said, Doc has he's kind of got Embiid to cut out the stupid stuff, right? Just the extra too many threes or the turnovers, and he just really down to business. I think that's where I think technically right now I'd vote for Embiid today, but you know, he's missed 6 games in 1/3 of the season. So I'm not going to say he's going to miss 18, but if he starts to miss 12 to 15, I think he's out of the game, you know?
Right. What's crazy about Embiid too is it's his back that he's been hurt. And what's crazy was the back injury stemmed from a foul against LeBron.
LeBron knew what he was doing. Strategic.
He's trying to take out the competition.
I didn't
think he actually didn't foul him that hard. He was just an awkward fall.
It was dangerous because he put 2 hands to the body when you're going up, which is, I mean, I don't think he meant it, but you know, I think it's one of those things where it's just like, damn, like I didn't mean to do it, but it's like I wanted to foul you, but not a hard foul. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
he let him know grown man's strength in the paint.
But he didn't even really grown man strength him either. You know what I'm saying?
Just 2 hands like this.
He did. I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, MVP and like, you know, Curry, you know, Chuck brought up Curry. Curry's been amazing. Curry is amazing. Curry and Dame, they're those guys are amazing. I don't think they'll win it per se, but they have a good case if they can catapult their team to top 3.
First team All NBA is going to be a doozy.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say I put
overall?
Curry in with Jokic
For
with
guards.
Joker right now.
Yeah, because like Curry might not make first team All NBA. Like, that'd be crazy.
Curry, Dame,
Guards are tough.
Harden, Luka, Kyrie.
And you know what's crazy about Luka is he's still averaging like what 28, 9, and 9.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's in his 3rd year and he's having a bad year at 28, 9, and 9.
Right.
People are saying it shouldn't start in the All-Star game, which I kind of agree with.
No, I think we all agree that it should be Dame.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be Dame. And I do agree with Sano. Dame should be getting some recognition. Like on the TV shows, Dame's name is never brought up, right? And they're what, 17 and 10 or something? 18 and 11?
Yeah, they're third. I mean, I think they're third in the West right now.
They're like right around.
They're fourth. They're fourth because LA's third. But they're not far. They're not far back.
I would say, aren't they? I thought they might even been one game, or maybe Phoenix is one game behind them. Either way, it's close.
Yeah, it's close.
But it says Phoenix is one game up on Portland.
Yeah. What makes, I mean, record aside, what makes it all the more impressive is like we talked about, he's missing CJ and Nurkic. They've been gone for a while, so he's basically on his own as far as leading that team.
So real quick, Sano, Curry's MVP case. Because what he's doing is just unbelievable. So what do you, besides, obviously I don't think he'll get it because of team record. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you just make of his season so far?
I mean, his season individually so far has been like MVP caliber. His numbers are, off the charts. But like we were saying, I think he's kind of in that category with like Jokic, right? Like where the team record's going to hold him back, but without both of those guys, those teams are not even anywhere near 500.
Right.
So he's carrying them to that record, but it's those guys that are carrying these teams to better records, like the Embiids and the Lillards right now, that probably have the upper hand. But I mean, if we're just going like performance wise and taking that standings element out of it, I think Curry would be right there, top 2, top 3, with guys like Embiid and Lillard. And
I don't know exactly, but I know percentages across the board and even their scoring total. Zach LaVine's probably numbers are actually comparable to the Curry.
They're close. Yeah.
Like field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. I know Curry's like damn near 1,000 from the free throw line, but Zach's like close to 90.
Maybe to even Dame too.
Yeah, I mean,
minus the assist, but I think he's close to 30.
Right. Zach is 52 and 43 from field goal and 3. And I mean, Curry's close, and they're both at like 20, 29 a game, 29, 30 a game. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously the Bulls suck, right? But,
I mean, what if the Bulls get like a 6th seed, which is doable, right? I think they're 9 right now.
Right.
I think they're like 3 games back of that, maybe even less than of like a 6-7 seed area. Like, does he get any? Not that he's going to win. He's not going to win, but does he get any consideration or mention?
I don't know.
I think he'll get all NBA love, but not MVP.
Yeah. As I'm actually looking at Zach LaVine shooting almost 4% better than Curry from the field overall. Yeah. Zach's shooting fucking 52% from the field. And he takes a lot of tough shots.
That's nuts.
Right. And Curry's like, and Curry takes a probably even more tough shots, right? But yeah, I mean, yeah, they both could use some more help. Curry's got more help than Zach, but I mean,
he's been missing guys too. Like Markkanen's been out.
Their whole team's been missing. I mean, they're literally like Kobe's been his second best player, right? They haven't been that good at all.
No.
But that just goes to show how good of a year Zach's actually having, man.
Man, all NBA is going to be crazy this year. There's going to be some guys that don't get all NBA that definitely deserve it.
We'll start hearing about that at the end of the year, about all the contract bonuses that guys are going to miss out on. Like if, they don't get their all NBA first or second team.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, right now, like you said, 1/3 of the way, but Embiid, I think, is the guy, but there is going to be, as things shake out, there is going to be the narrative. Kind of like Chris Paul's numbers aren't the best, but he might make the All-Star team, right? Maybe LeBron's numbers might not be the best across the board, but if they can maintain a good record, top 3 seed, usually you got to be 2 seed, I would say, which would make it hard for Dame to really get votes. But, you know,
And
yeah.
we'll see how good Portland ends up once you said we have 2/3 of the season to play, and CJ and Nurkic are coming back at some point. If they can hang in that 4 or 5 area, like they can make a run to, I don't know about 2 or 3, but home court advantage.
Yeah, we don't even know yet the second half. We don't even know the second half of the NBA schedule yet.
Yeah, it hasn't come out yet,
which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think we all pretty much got Embiid as our number 1 vote.
I don't have. Man. I guess Embiid would be mine. Embiid or shit. I don't know. Because
I'd love to have KD up there too, but like we said, just too many games.
Yeah.
Do you remember what Embiid's odds were before the year?
He had to be one of the favorites.
Man, I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I feel like he was over 10-1.
I mean, beginning of the year, you would have thought like, well, maybe, I don't know, Lillard probably wasn't up there, but guys like LeBron, Embiid, like who else would have been a preseason favorite?
Well, Luka was the fave. And LeBron's always around the favorites because he's always going to get money bet on him.
Yeah. Curry maybe even was up there. I don't know.
I don't know if he was up there too high because, so KD, I had KD at like 18-1. And I think KD was the same as Dame.
So Dame was 18-1.
It was either 16 or 18-1, one of the two, but they were tied. And I think Joker was definitely up there, probably less like 8-1 or 6-1.
And I would assume Embiid had to be around that same 8-10, like 8-12 maybe area.
Right. What's crazy is, Golden State's only half a game behind Denver.
Yeah.
It's pretty surprising considering,
And we like there'll be some moves made too. I don't know if we're going to see any major moves. I don't know if Beal's going to be traded. But guys like Blake, your guy Blake, like if he goes to a team where he can play a role, where he can still utilize his shooting at least and passing and things like that, he can make a difference for somebody.
Man, I hope so. I think he'll end up getting bought out, which would be he'd have to give back so much money. But he just looks so just over the, I don't want to say over the hill, but he just looks like time caught up and injuries caught up to him.
Yeah.
This year. And it sucks. It sucks because, when he was last healthy, man, he was best season of his career, all NBA. But yeah.
What's crazy is like they say, you can kind of try to offset the money you give up by the next team. But if he wants to, go to a contender, there's probably not too much money anybody could really give him, on the back end later on.
It would be vet minimum. He would get.
Yeah. Now, unless they say we'll give you the vet minimum and sign you next year for big money or something, but to try to offset some of the losses.
Who's going to agree to sign him to a big deal? Like he's so injury prone.
Yeah. Just his production this year it's been tough. It's been tough for sure. But all right, you guys. Well, that about does it. BTST, man. It was a good one today. Thank you guys again for continuing to support us. We cannot thank you guys enough. Continue to follow us on social media. Sano, Bruce, Charlie, Adam, signing off. Take care, you guys. Thank you.